Before we get into this week's episode, we are here with Ambar Cassidy. If you guys are listening to our episode the day that it is coming out, she has a song coming out today. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, Ambar?
Yeah, hi guys. My name is Amber, and I have a song coming out today that's called Ain't Too Mad. My friends Lainey Richardson and Kelly Taylor wrote this song. They wrote it for a songwriting class, and I asked them if I could have it, and they let me have it. So I recorded it with my friend Holly Barris, and it's just about seeing your ex from your hometown and doing so much better than them and all that fun stuff.
That's a very common theme that I'm sure a lot of our listeners will be able to relate to well. And obviously, you're here promoting that song a little bit. But what else? What else might you be doing in the weeks ahead to kind of get that out there?
Yes, I have a show this coming Thursday, April 10th at the Cobra. I'm opening the night at 7, and then my friends Austin Cobb and Lex are also going to be there, and I think it'll be a really fun night.
Sounds like a great lineup with Austin Cobb and Lex on that bill. That's at the Cobra on April the 10th. And you can stream Ain't Too Mad, which is out on all streaming platforms now. Thanks for stopping in, Amber.
Thank you.
Welcome to the mixing room.
I'm Daniel.
I'm Trent.
And we have a great guest today, but before we get to her and her story, we wanted to backpedal a little bit. So we did this interview earlier today, and she talked about Dwayne O'Brien, who is a professor at our alma mater, Belmont University. He's also a founding member of the country group Little Texas. And he's a great songwriter. And our guest she was talking about how he was giving her tips for songwriting. And I wanted to tell you a story about a time when he gave me some of the greatest songwriting advice that I've gotten in a while. And this was probably my freshman year of college. I went to O'Brien's office and just sat down and was, just kind of shooting the shit with him. And after a little bit, I said, look, I don't know how to write like an upbeat, like a happy song. Like if you have like a sad song, like a ballad, I know how to do that. There's conflict, and there's conflict to resolve. And that's like, it comes from the heart. It's easy to write. How do you write the song for like when things are going good? Because I want to. And he said, okay, a good place to start is right about 120 BPM, 120 beats per minute. And so he starts snapping at that tempo. And he says, do you know how to like check in on this? And I'm like, how? He goes, ba 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 ba. And so you start right about there. He goes, all right, now tell me your idea. And I go, all right, so it's like me and my bandmates, and we're like going out on the town, and like we're gonna go play these shows, and we're gonna go, do this thing, and we're gonna go to the bars, and then we're gonna play the show, and we're gonna pack up the car, and we're gonna drive to the next place, and we're gonna play the next show. And he goes, no. You gotta then okay, you see you're getting excited. So you gotta go faster, okay? He's like, all right. Now, so what are you doing? I'm like, all right, yeah, so it's this idea, and I tell him the idea again. He's like, yeah, that's good. He goes, now, do you have a title? I go, yeah, the title Feels Like a Friday Night. And he goes, okay, so you're telling your story, make every day feel like a Friday night. He's like, so since you're going that whole way, then you stop with the drums, and you do that part right there. The end of the verse is kind of a tag. He's like, okay, so you're going, it's fun, right? It's fast. I'm like, yeah. He goes, great. So now when you get to the bridge, what are you going to do? I go, he goes, you're going to slow it down. And at this point, I'm now like air drumming and like making noises, and he's making noises and snapping, and And I did go on, as Trent knows, because we play a song called Feels Like a Friday Night in our live sets. And yeah, that was all, I don't know, from a legal standpoint, I think it's like my name on it, but like he gave me like half of that. And the other thing I realized after he told me that story of like, okay, this is how you kind of check your songs and like where your starting point can be. The reason why he said start with the beat was that's common in hip hop. It's less common in rock or in pop, but it doesn't mean you can't do it. Because I'm always used to trying to start by strumming a chord and just trying to find something on a guitar. And so the other thing I realized about that 120 BPM, right? Ba, 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 right there is also God Bless Texas, Little Texas's biggest hit song, which means that I know that it's a tried and true method that he has applied.
Yeah. That's incredible. Well, there you go. Songwriting hacks on the mixing room.
Have I ever actually told you that story, like off air?
I think you've told me a little bit of it. I think You told me that Dwayne O'Brien played a part in it. I don't know if we went through the whole 120 BPM and all of that, but
yeah, so,
it did not take me long to figure out where that story was going, though.
Yeah. You kind of went, wait a minute, this has a momentum to it in a direction, but yeah, played a great part. And over the years, there, every once in a while, I would just kind of pop in O'Brien's office and, just catch up with him every once in a while. And he'd say, how's your music going, or how's your life going? And I'd ask him the same. And, he would tell me stories of, his heyday and things he was up to now. And I got to catch up with him. If for some reason you're listening to this, Dwayne O'Brien, we need to get in touch. But yeah, another great mentor and influence that we picked up along the way. And that today's guest picked up along the way as well.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Real excited to get to her. She's got some music coming up. You want to tell them a little bit about that?
Sure. So she just released a song, at the end of last year.
Yeah. Last year, a song called Guilty as Charged.
Guilty as Charged. And so she's now building upon that momentum, releasing her second single, which is called Back to Jack.
Coming your way very, very soon.
Mm-hmm. So we had the opportunity to talk to her about that today, and we had an incredible conversation about so many different things, a lot more songwriting tips in the rest of this episode as well. So if you liked that, keep listening.
Yep. And without further ado, we're going to bring in today's guest. So please welcome Mallory Williams.
All right, welcome to the mixing room, Mallory Williams. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
Yeah, of course. So we want to talk about several things that you've been up to, but one of the most exciting things coming up is going to be your release of Back to Jack. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Back to Jack's honestly a cool song because me and my roommate at the time, we decided to do Dry January. And I feel like Dry January is one of those things. It's like New Year's resolutions. Like everyone's like January 1st, they're like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to stick to this. And then like everyone always just ends up not doing it. Props to you if you stick to it. But I ended up, because I was still in college, there was always stuff going on. I ended up breaking it after 2 weeks. I think she did stick with it. But I broke it after 2 weeks. So the first line of the song was, sitting at a bar, said I'd take my last drink about 2 weeks ago. So that's kind of where that came from. And then I was like, okay, well, this would kind of be fun to write like a song about like kind of like a play on words. So I love writing songs with like double meanings. So I was like, well, let me just put all my favorite alcohol in one song and let me just sing about it. And so then it kind of turned into this like kind of like cool like play on words like type of song. But I also kind of wrote it to where you could be talking about a guy too. So you could either, I like writing songs where people kind of can form their own like meanings behind it. Whatever it means to them, however it speaks to you.
And it's got a great arrangement to it too. Like, can you tell us a little bit about how either you or maybe your producer or whoever else like kind of orchestrated this track? Because there's a really catchy guitar part at the top of it, and the chorus melody is it's so catchy. I've listened to it a few times today, and it's still in my head.
The producer that I worked with, his name's Jesse Savio, and he runs The Get Up. And I met him, I played his round in like March, of 2024 maybe. So honestly, almost like a year ago. But he reached out to me and he was like, I like your music. Like, we want to book you for like The Get Up. So I was like, cool. And then I'd never like put anything out before because I feel like every time I would always be that person at the rounds that were like, everyone would go and they'd be like, yeah, listen to my song. Like, this is out, listen to this. And I'd be like, my name's Mallory again. And I just like wouldn't have kind of that, oh, like I have this out or whatever. So he was like, I actually am a producer. I love to work with you. And so I got through kind of graduating and like everything that went along kind of with finishing up school and stuff like that. Then I reached out to him, and then the first song that we recorded was Guilty as Charged, but then I always said the next one I would want to do Back to Jack because they kind of have like similar vibes. And so we started working on that, and honestly it's crazy, like he kind of created, like I went with him and we like made like I guess like a mix and like kind of like what an idea of like how we wanted it to sound. And then we went to Saxman Studios, and it was incredible working with them because you basically just show them your song and then they're all just like so talented, and it's a live band kind of situation. So they all just work together, and it only takes like a few takes, and I swear it's like they took it out of my head and they just made it come to life. So that was like what was really cool about it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think was guilty as charged done the same way.
Yeah.
Because that's just got such a good like live in the room. I feel like I'm in a jazz club or something.
Yeah, like it just like a lot of the music I write, I feel like I want it to like groove, and so I feel like that's like what a lot of kind of how I want it to come to life. They're just really talented musicians that can do a lot more than what I can do.
Nice. I wouldn't discredit yourself. And I know that we're going to ask you in just a minute. We're going to talk a little bit more about those rounds and about Jesse and the Get Up. But one thing before we kind of get to that, like you said, you want these songs to have a groove, and these musicians bring them to life. How do you then bring them to life maybe in a different way when you're doing like a writer's round and you've kind of just got the story, the song, and your guitar?
Yeah.
How do you bring it to life in a different way when you don't have that room full of musicians?
I feel like with me, a lot of my songwriting like has always been very personal, and so I feel like whatever I write, it has some sort of like emotional, I guess, connection to it. So, and I don't know, like it's like weird. I guess like whatever I play, like I kind of, even when I write songs, like I write it based off of like I'll think of something in my head, and then I will kind of just be like, okay, well, how do I want that to sound on guitar or piano? And then I will put that on guitar. But it's all based off of feeling. Like everything's always been based off of like how I feel. And so when I feel like I play, I kind of just get lost in it, and I just like put a lot of emotion in it. And I feel like it's just about, anyone can get up and like play a song, but I feel it's about like how you portray it, and like everything's like a story. So it's like, you know, everything from your body language to like your facial expressions to, you know, how you sing the song. Like I feel like that is like a lot about what I try and put into my music. But I just feel it.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's pretty neat. And I'm sure that you get a lot of experience with that, doing all sorts of rounds, because it seems like you do quite a few.
Yeah.
Yeah. How often are you doing rounds and stuff with the Get Up at this point?
Quite a bit. They've grown like so much, and so that's been really cool, just kind of being able to play and like kind of see their journey. They just started like a live studio, kind of like a talk show, I guess, and that was really cool because I feel like no one's ever done something like that. And so I did that like last week. Yeah, it was kind of like this. They like interview you, and then you get to play like one song, and then it was pretty cool. It, you know, it brought like a lot of people out. I think people like enjoy kind of seeing what's behind the artist and like the stories kind of behind what motivates them and who they are and stuff like that. So I think that was like a really cool thing to experience. But I mean, honestly, whenever I can, because I just like enjoy it. It's actually kind of weird. So I went to Belmont to do like music business, and I've like been a songwriter since I was like 6. So I always knew like I wanted to do that. And honestly, it's kind of random because both my parents are in healthcare. My brother, not musical, he was into sports, and he's my twin, so it's kind of funny. But the songwriting, I don't know where that came from. Like it's just something I've like always done.
Yeah, well, I mean, clearly it's something you've carried with you, because you really seem to be embracing this artist path. And
yeah.
I know that can't be an easy choice when I feel like the universe, your community, your family, your school, all kind of expect you to graduate with a degree and then go into a desk job.
Yeah.
So what does that decision look like, where you're kind of saying, you know, I just graduated and I know everyone expects this of me, but I feel something different, and I gotta take this path instead.
Yeah. So I feel like for a while, like even going to Belmont, I was like, I know I want to do something with music, but I don't think I was kind of shy about it like for a while. And I feel like just the people that I met, like, you know, just who are musical, like kind of inspired me. I'm like, well, everyone else is doing it, like maybe I should take a whack at it. And so I started meeting more people, and then I started doing more rounds, and then just like growing and networking, and still in school, like I was like, I still want to work on the industry side because that is important to me. Like I've always wanted to kind of work on the business side because I find it interesting. Like there's so much you can do on the industry side, whether it's like marketing, management. You know, I even thought about maybe going back and doing entertainment law because I just want to help like songwriters, and I want to help them understand the industry and like be protected. So that's kind of what my passion is. But it was more after I graduated. It's been hard finding like an industry job. I feel like, you know,
Absolutely.
I was working in retail, doing some social media stuff, but I feel like everyone can relate to that. You graduate and you think, hey, like I have this degree now and I went to Belmont, like all this stuff. And then you're like, what do I do with that? No one will hire me.
We were just talking about this before we got rolling here.
Yeah, like you could have all the experience in the world. And I know like we've talked some about that. It doesn't make you just get a job. So there's so much that goes into it, and it's like it's a lot of networking, and it's not really about like who you know, it's about like who knows you. And so that can be hard, because if you're just, you know, tiny little fish in this big pond of Belmont kids and people in music, like it's hard to find a job. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just do this and then I'll keep looking, and then maybe I have more time to do more rounds out because I'm not in school and I'm not doing like, you know, classwork and homework and stuff. So I kind of started playing more, and then I got on more circuits, and then I started meeting more people, and then I was like, hey, this actually might be something that I want to maybe put more of my time in. And so then I started co-writing, which is something that, because I'm used to just like writing by myself, and that was a big learning curve for me. Is like it's hard to write with like other people at first, because it's like, I don't know, it's like personal, like it's kind of like dating. I might work well with you. I don't know. You got to see like their style, like, you know, but then you can even write with people that you have like a whole different style, and then you can write something really cool. It's just all about like collaboration and like blending perspectives. And, you know, you might have someone that's better at guitar than you're like a lyric person, and then you can come together and like finish a song like that.
I've always found co-writing tricky. I think you have to be, there's a certain level of vulnerability that comes with that. And I've always struggled, like, anytime I've written something that I've been somewhat proud of, it's always been like behind a closed bedroom door. Like I can't have anyone there. I kind of just have to be honest and with myself for a minute.
Yeah.
So how do you break that ice when you're getting in the room with co-writers who maybe you kind of know, but maybe some not so much?
I feel like sometimes like you kind of just have to talk to them, and you kind of just have to, like, it could be like y'all could be chatting for like 2 hours and then you bang out a song. Or like you might write half of it and then go back. I feel like it just depends on like the energy and the person and like the situation. But I find sometimes too, it's a little bit easier for me if I'm co-writing and I will write a song for like that person instead of like for myself.
Yeah.
And that's what helped me a little bit, because like sometimes if I'm like writing for myself, because you're like thinking like, oh, like is this good enough, like is this idea good? It's like you can't really think like that, because it's all just like kind of collaboration. It's like you might say one thing and then they're like, oh, I like that idea, but like what about this? And then it like turns into this kind of back and forth. I don't know. I just feel like it's really helpful, like just having someone to bounce ideas off of, like work together. And you both might be really talented on your own, but then together you might create something like completely different. So I think that's what's really cool about it, to me at least.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah.
How often do you go into a co-write bringing an idea versus kind of generating the idea there?
Always like have a set of ideas that I want to write about. Like I feel like it's a lot more productive for both people when you both have ideas ready to go than just getting there and showing up and be like, well, I don't know, what do you want to write about? Like, I don't know. Like, so I feel like a lot of times I will have like a set list of ideas ready. But when I write personally, I feel like it's like more spontaneous. Like I'll wake up at 2 a.m. and write something in my notes app, or like I definitely am like a night owl. Like I just don't sleep that much. Like I don't know, like I've always been that way, but I feel like most of my like creativity happens like at night. And like one night I had like 4 songs that I was writing, and I was like, why can I only write like half of these? Like I just can't finish them. But then I woke up at like, I don't know, like 1 a.m, and then I just finished all 4 of them, because I just kept like thinking of stuff. And it's like, I don't know, sometimes it just hits you like spontaneously.
Yeah.
And isn't that exciting?
Yeah, like that's what I love about it.
Like I haven't written a song in months that I like feel any good about.
Yeah.
But then at some point I know the switch will flip, and there will just be kind of a burst of creativity that's like, you know, very exciting and rewarding. So does that ever worry you? Do you ever feel like, oh, like, damn, I haven't written a good one in a few weeks?
Yeah, like
what's going on?
It's easy to get like discouraged. I'm like, I have writer's blocks, like I'm not inspired, like, but then it's like such a revolving, like I could literally be sitting watching a TV show and then I hear a song or like something, and then I'm like, oh, and then like I'll have an idea, like, you know what I mean? Like I feel like you can literally get creativity from like anywhere. Or that was what was hard with co-writing at first too, was like I was like, okay, like I can't just sit here and like write about this topic. Like it felt like I was like in school and I was like writing about like, you know, I was given a topic, like writing about that. But then also realizing like, okay, you don't have to box yourself in. Like I feel like everything's just about like perspectives and like learning your own, and then like, you know, just changing it based off of just whatever you're feeling, I guess.
I feel like as an artist, like everything you do just kind of builds upon itself. Like even like a night out with your friends or something like can inform your songwriting, or at least create a new story for you to build off of.
Yeah.
And so certainly all the experience that you now have recording and co-writing, that's got to shape you a little bit as an artist and as a writer too. So tell us a little bit about how the recording process and how co-writing has maybe evolved your songwriting in a different direction.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've been a songwriter since I was 6. Like I was just kind of born doing it. Literally my mom found, when I was home for Christmas, she found like a little, I guess, song that I wrote when I was 6 before I could like even spell, like, and I was writing about like my emotions, and I think I spelled it like EMOTONS, like, you know, and so I've always like done stuff by ear and by sound. And so that was before I could even play an instrument. So I feel like I've always just wanted to create music and wanted to write and create. And so, I started piano when I was like 8, and then guitar when I was 10, and I had a really amazing guitar teacher growing up, and she was my piano teacher, and then she was like, saw that I was, you know, wanted to kind of do that and I could play by ear, and so she really helped me up through high school, and like, so that's kind of how I started writing songs. And then I got to Belmont and I didn't major in songwriting, and so I had people who were like songwriting friends, and so I kind of knew there was like, you know, music theory, and like I knew some music theory, but mostly I just play by ear. Like I just play, I'll think of something and then I'll be like, how can I put this on guitar, and then I'll just play guitar and then it'll become a song. And so like that's kind of how I write. I know everyone writes differently, but I feel like when I took like a business of songs class at Belmont, and with Dwayne O'Brien, who was like my favorite professor.
We
like,
love him. Shout out Dwayne O'Brien,
like
of Little Texas.
And yeah, and so I kind of learned more about like the structure of a song, and he helped me out with like, you know, timing, because it's weird how social media and TikTok and everything has like changed songwriting. And so like even listening back, like I grew up listening to Miranda Lambert, Lady Antebellum. They're some of my big influences, and some of their songs will be like 4 minutes long, and that was like normal. But then I feel like now when I listen to that, I'm like, I don't remember the song being that long. Yeah. And it's crazy how that's just changed people's brain chemistry when it comes to like listening to music. And so when I took that class, I was like, oh, I have these songs and they're good, but then some of it was like, how can I say what I want to say, but then kind of like condense it down a little bit. And that's when it kind of like rewired the way that I was looking at my songs and songwriting and stuff. And so after recording, you know, I recorded back to Jack, and there was actually a whole verse that I cut out of it just to record it, and for timing's sake, and, you know, guitar solos. And that's something I never really thought about. But like when you get in there and you have like a full band and you're like recording with it, you know, you gotta leave room for a solo, or like think about the structure of the song and like what you really want to put in there. And so that kind of changed my ways of writing. Like now I'll kind of write more like for, I guess, radio, or how could this be played in a movie, or like how it's like you just think about like more things, and then you're like, well, when I play this out, like you want to still keep people's attention, like you don't want to ramble on, and like you can kind of tell like when the chorus is done, and like, you know, I can just tell now like if I'm like rambling on, like, and so that kind of changed my songwriting a lot, and I feel like it just like tightened it up a lot, and I've just gotten a lot better with just, you know, keeping it under time, or, you know, feel like now it's like 3 minutes, 3:30, and that kind of changed my way of just looking at songwriting and how I write.
So one other fun thing that we do like to ask on the podcast is what you're listening to right now.
Yeah, so honestly, I am a huge Trio Revival fan. They just released a new song, Bad State of Mind, so I've been listening to that a lot. It's pretty good. And then I'm actually going to see Old 60 in the Caverns like next week, I think. I can't believe it's already March. They're a really cool band. Fox and Veed is like a smaller band that are opening up for them, so I'm really excited to see them. They actually played in my hometown on New Year's, so that was really cool to see them. at our little local bar. So it'll be cool to see them at the Caverns and like at like a big venue. And so yeah, that's kind of who I've been listening to lately. But I feel like it always revolves. I just listen to kind of everything. But
yeah. Well, hey, Mallory, congrats on the success of the already released Guilty as Charged. Mm-hmm. Congrats on the forthcoming success of the forthcoming release of Back to Jack. We're so excited for that. And congrats on continuing to find your path as an artist and getting the chance to go out and play. And yeah, if you're listening to this or if you're watching this in the Nashville area, we'll link some of Mallory's upcoming shows in our description. So be sure to check her out. Again, she's been playing a lot, particularly at the Get Up series of rounds. And Mallory Williams, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
That concludes our interview with Mallory Williams. We hope that you guys have enjoyed this episode of the Mixing Room Podcast. And if you have, you know what we're going to say. Go ahead and rate us 5 stars on Spotify. And if you're watching the video on YouTube, go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment down below any feedback you have, any songwriting tips that you've picked up. We want to hear it all.
And we will be posting some behind-the-scenes content and more on our social media pages. So if you don't already, go ahead and follow us at Mixing Room Podcast on Instagram and on TikTok. We may be posting some of that behind-the-scenes content onto YouTube Shorts as well, so take a look there. Thank you again for tuning in, you guys. Until next time, I'm Daniel.
I'm Trent.
We'll see you real soon.